The human brain is the most complex object in the known universe. It has taken millions of years to evolve a survival instinct that is borderline supernatural. It spots predators in the grass, it fears the edge of the cliff, and it recoils from fire. But sometimes, the brain has a fatal system error. We call it stupidity, but it's not just being dumb. It's a complete override of the biological programming designed to keep you alive. It is the voice that says, "I know physics says this is impossible, but watch this." Welcome to the end of the line. Here are 12 times human stupidity beat survival instincts. 1. The liquid nitrogen cocktail. We begin with a chemistry lesson in a cocktail glass. Meet Gabby, a 19-year-old celebrating her birthday at a high-end bar. The trend that night was nitro shots. Drinks chilled with liquid nitrogen to create a cool, smoky fog effect. Liquid nitrogen boils at minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 196 degrees Celsius. It is cold enough to shatter steel. The rule of the drink is simple. You wait for the nitrogen to boil off completely before you drink it. The smoke is the warning sign. But Gabby was excited. She was caught up in the moment. The bartender poured the shot. It was still bubbling violently. Gabby didn't wait. She threw it back in one gulp. The physics of failure. Liquid nitrogen has an expansion ratio of 1 to 694. This means that 1 ounce of liquid turns into 694 ounces of gas instantly when it heats up. Gabby's stomach was 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The moment the minus 320 degree liquid hit her warm stomach acid, it didn't just boil, it exploded. The gas expanded with the force of a small bomb. The mechanism of death. The pressure inside her stomach skyrocketed instantly. The human stomach wall can handle some stretching, but it cannot handle a supersonic gas expansion. Her stomach ruptured. It exploded inside her abdominal cavity. But the nitrogen wasn't done. The extreme cold flash froze her internal organs, destroying the tissue of her esophagus and liver. Gabby collapsed on the bar floor in agony. Despite emergency surgery to remove her stomach, the damage was catastrophic. She survived the night but died later from complications. She ignored the chemistry, and the chemistry treated her biology like a balloon. 2. The balcony pool party. Structural engineering is a boring subject until gravity enters the chat. Jason, a 25-year-old renter, wanted to host the ultimate summer party. He lived on the 4th floor of an apartment complex with a small wooden balcony. "It's hot," Jason thought. "I'll buy an inflatable pool." He bought a family-size pool. He set it up on the balcony. He filled it with a garden hose. He invited 4 friends over. They all got in. The math of stupidity. Let's do the math that Jason didn't. The pool held 600 gallons of water. Water weighs 8.34 pounds per gallon. 600 times 8, 34, equals 5,004 pounds. Add the weight of 5 adults, approximately 900 pounds. Total weight, almost 6,000 pounds, 3 tons. The balcony was a cantilevered structure, supported only on one side. It was designed for a live load of 40 pounds per square foot, basically a few people and a BBQ grill. Jason had loaded it to 300 pounds per square foot. The collapse. The wood didn't creak, it sheared. The joists snapped at the connection point to the building wall. The entire balcony detached from the building face. Jason and his friends, sitting in 3 tons of water, rode the wreckage down 4 stories. They landed on the concrete patio below. The pool water acted as a heavy weight, crushing them into the debris. 3 people died instantly from blunt force trauma. Jason survived, only to face manslaughter charges for failing to understand that water is heavy. 3. The kite tube. Humans have always wanted to fly. But there is a reason airplanes have wings and tails. In the mid-2000s, a product called the kite tube hit the market. It was a giant inflatable disc 10 feet wide designed to be towed behind a boat. The gimmick: if you go fast enough, it lifts off the water and flies. Enter Brad, a thrill seeker who bought one on eBay after they were recalled. "I'm gonna reach the stratosphere," he told his boat driver. He strapped himself into the tube. The driver gunned the engine to 45 miles per hour. The aerodynamic flaw. The kite tube is a flying wing with no controls. It has no ailerons, no rudder, and no elevator. It relies entirely on the rider's body weight to balance. As the tube lifted 40 feet into the air, A gust of wind hit it. The angle of attack increased. The nose went up. Brad was now hanging vertically, 40 feet above the water, staring at the sky. The impact. The tube stalled. Aerodynamic lift vanished. Gravity took over. Brad plummeted 40 feet. Water, at 45 miles per hour, has the surface hardness of asphalt. Brad impacted the water face first. The deceleration was 50 Gs. His neck snapped instantly. His aorta detached from his heart due to the shearing force. The kite tube was banned because it turns tourists into unguided missiles. Brad proved why aerodynamics should be left to pilots, not tubers. 4. The DIY bungee jump. Elasticity is a science. You trust your life to it every time you fly in a plane or drive a car. But trusting your life to Home Depot supplies is a different story. Eric, a 22-year-old, wanted to bungee jump. He didn't want to pay $100 for a professional jump. He went to the hardware store. He bought 100 feet of nylon rope and 50 feet of heavy-duty bungee cords. He tied them together using duct tape and plastic cable ties. "The rope is strong," Eric said, "and the bungees will make it bouncy." The engineering failure. Professional bungee cords are made of thousands of latex strands woven together to provide progressive stopping power. Eric created a static line with a shock cord at the end. He jumped off a 70-foot bridge. He fell 50 feet freely. He reached 40 miles per hour. The snap. When the slack ran out, the load hit the cable ties. Cable ties have a high tensile strength for static loads, holding wires. They have zero impact strength for dynamic loads, stopping a falling human. The plastic ties sheared instantly. Eric didn't bounce. He continued his trajectory straight into the riverbed below. Even if the ties had held, the sudden stop from the non-stretchy nylon rope would have severed his spinal cord. He died on impact. He tried to engineer a thrill, but he engineered a hanging. 5. The charcoal grill heater. Cold weather makes people desperate for heat, but desperation turns off the logic center of the brain. During a power outage in winter, the Smith family was freezing. The electric heat was out. Mr. Smith had a bright idea. "Let's bring the charcoal grill inside. It puts out heat, just like a fireplace." He lit the charcoal briquettes in the living room. The family gathered around, feeling the warmth. They felt cozy, then they felt sleepy. The chemistry of death. Burning charcoal produces carbon monoxide, CO. In an open backyard, CO disperses. In a sealed living room with the windows closed to keep the heat in, it accumulates. Carbon monoxide is a chemical bully. It binds to the hemoglobin in your blood 200 times stronger than oxygen does. It literally kicks the oxygen out of your blood cells and takes its place. The silent sleep. The family didn't cough. CO is odorless and colorless. They just got headaches. Then they got confused. Then they passed out. They essentially suffocated in a room full of air. When the power came back on 2 days later, the neighbors found them. They looked peaceful, like they were sleeping. The grill was cold, but it had done its job. It heated the room, and it extinguished the lives inside it. 6. The industrial magnet vest. Curiosity is dangerous. Magnetic curiosity is fatal. Carl worked at a scrapyard. He was fascinated by the giant electromagnet used to lift cars. He had a metal plate in his leg from an old surgery. He often joked, "I bet that magnet could lift me." One day, Carl decided to test a theory. He put on a tool vest filled with wrenches, hammers, and steel bolts. He effectively turned himself into a metallic target. He walked under the crane while the operator was on lunch break. He waved at the operator to turn it on for a second. The physics of magnetism. The operator didn't see Carl directly underneath. He activated the magnet to pick up a car. The magnet generates 5 Teslas of force. It can lift 5,000 pounds. The magnetic field grabbed the steel tools in Carl's vest. It didn't lift him gently. It snatched him upward at 20 feet per second. The impact. Carl flew up and slammed into the solid steel face of the magnet. The force was so intense that the tools in his vest were driven into his chest cavity. He was pinned there, suspended 30 feet in the air, crushed by the magnetic attraction of his own equipment. When the operator realized what happened and cut the power, Carl fell 30 feet to the ground. He died from the initial crush impact. He wanted to feel the attraction. He felt the crushing reality of physics. 7. The aerosol can incinerator. Fire is mesmerizing. Explosions are cool. Combining them requires distance. At a beach bonfire, Trevor wanted to impress his friends. He had a can of industrial spray paint. "Watch this fireball," he said. He threw the pressurized can into the center of the bonfire. He stood 3 feet away, waiting for the whoosh, the thermodynamics. The can is a pressure vessel. It contains liquid paint and a propellant gas, propane/butane, under pressure. The fire heated the gas. The pressure inside the can rose from 40 pounds per square inch to over 600 pounds per square inch in seconds. The metal casing of the can began to weaken from the heat. The blev. The can didn't just leak. It suffered a blev, boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. The bottom of the can blew out. The can turned into a rocket. But worse, the metal casing shredded into shrapnel. A piece of the jagged aluminum casing flew out of the fire at 300 miles per hour. It struck Trevor in the neck. He didn't see a cool fireball. He felt a hot piece of metal sever his jugular. He bled out on the sand while his friends thought he was playing a prank. He treated a bomb like a toy, and the bomb treated him like a target. 8. The golf ball diver, Delta P. Golf balls are worth money. Divers can make a living collecting them from hazards. But hazards are called hazards for a reason. Mark was an experienced diver collecting balls in a pond at a luxury golf course. He saw a large cluster of balls near a concrete drainage pipe at the bottom of the pond. The pipe connected this pond to a lower pond. The physics of suction. There is a concept in diving called delta P differential pressure. When water flows from a high-pressure area, the upper pond, to a low-pressure area, the lower pond, through a small hole, it creates a massive suction force. The pipe was 12 inches wide. The suction force is calculated by pressure times area. At a depth of 10 feet, the pressure differential created over 1,000 pounds of suction force at the mouth of the pipe. The trap. Mark swam too close. The flow grabbed his arm. He was sucked against the pipe opening. 1,000 pounds of force pinned him there. He couldn't pull free, he couldn't push away. Even with a tank of air, he was doomed. He was anchored to the bottom by the water itself. He drowned when his air ran out, held in place by invisible physics. He went for the balls, but he got the shaft. 9. The forklift rodeo. Warehouses are boring. Forklifts are fun, but forklifts are also inherently unstable. Tony was working the night shift. He decided to do donuts in the propane forklift. He revved the engine, turned the wheel hard, and spun in circles. "Look at me!" he yelled. The stability triangle. A forklift does not have a suspension like a car. It has a rigid rear axle that pivots on a single pin. This creates a stability triangle between the two front wheels and the center of the rear axle. The center of gravity must stay inside this triangle. When Tony spun, centrifugal force pushed the center of gravity outside the triangle. The crush. The forklift tipped sideways. Tony's survival instinct kicked in, but it was the wrong instinct. He tried to jump out. This is the fatal error. Forklifts have a heavy overhead guard to protect you if you stay inside. By jumping, Tony only got halfway out. The 9,000-pound machine fell on top of him. The overhead guard landed directly on his torso. He was bisected by the machine he was trying to drift. He ignored the training, and the training manual became his obituary. 10. Mistaking calm for kindness. We have domesticated dogs. We have domesticated cats. We have not domesticated the African elephant. During a safari, tourists stopped to watch a bull elephant grazing. Beatrice, a 40-year-old tourist, wanted a selfie. "He looks so calm," she said. "His ears are flapping. That means he's happy." The biological misinterpretation. Flapping ears can mean cooling, but pinned ears, a raised trunk, and a stiff posture mean aggression. Beatrice misread the body language. She got out of the Jeep. She walked within 20 feet of a 6-ton animal in musth, a hormonal state of high aggression. The charge. The elephant didn't trumpet, it charged silently. It covers ground at 25 miles per hour. Beatrice turned to run, but she tripped. The elephant didn't bite her. It didn't gore her. It simply stepped on her. 1 foot, 6 tons of pressure. The impact liquefied her internal organs. It was over in 1 second. She wanted a Facebook profile picture. She ended up as a cautionary tale on the park brochure. Nature is not a petting zoo. 11. The microwave transformer artist. Fractal burning, using electricity to burn lightning patterns into wood, is a popular art form on YouTube. It requires a high-voltage transformer. The cheapest source? An old microwave. David dismantled his microwave to get the MOT, microwave oven transformer. He set up the wood on his workbench. He plugged in the transformer. He held the two electrodes, one in each hand. The electrical lethality. A taser has 50,000 volts but tiny amperage. It hurts but rarely kills. A microwave transformer has 2,000 volts but massive amperage, 0.5 amps. 0.1 amps is enough to stop a human heart. David was playing with 5 times the lethal dose. The circuit. David's hands were sweaty. He touched the probes to the wood. The wood didn't conduct fast enough. The electricity found a better path, David. It traveled up his left arm, across his chest, through his heart, and down his right arm. His muscles locked instantly. He couldn't let go. He was cooked from the inside out for 30 seconds until the breaker tripped. There was no CPR possible. His heart was literally cooked. He died for an art project that sold for $20. 12. The third rail urination. We end with the ultimate act of disrespect for physics. It was 3 a.m. Brian was drunk. He was waiting for the subway. He needed to pee. He didn't want to find a bathroom. He stumbled to the edge of the platform and decided to relieve himself onto the tracks, specifically onto the third rail, the steel rail that carries 750 volts DC to power the train. The physics of the stream. There is a myth that urine isn't a continuous stream, so electricity can't travel up it. Mythbusters tested this. At close range, with a high-volume flow, the stream is continuous enough. Urine is salty water. It is a conductor. But the real danger wasn't just the stream. Brian was drunk. He lost his balance midstream. The fall. He stumbled forward. He fell off the platform. He landed directly on top of the third rail. 750 volts DC coursed through his body. DC power causes muscles to contract and lock. Tetanus. He stuck to the rail. He couldn't roll off. He was electrocuted for 2 minutes before the station master cut the power. He died of massive tissue necrosis and cardiac arrest. He pissed on power, and power fought back. 12 lives, 12 moments where the brain said go and physics said stop. The tragedy is that every single one of these deaths was a choice. A choice to ignore a warning label, a choice to save $50 on safety gear, a choice to do it for the gram. The survival instinct is there for a reason. It is the wisdom of your ancestors screaming at you from the grave. When you ignore it, you aren't being brave. You are just being a volunteer for natural selection. So, I have to ask, which of these stories made you physically cringe the hardest? Was it the liquid nitrogen stomach or the golf ball diver? Let me know in the comments. And do yourself a favor. Respect the chemistry, fear the gravity, and stay alive to watch the next episode. Subscribe now, because stupidity is infinite, but your life is not.